The world watched in disbelief. August 1939. Nazi Germany and Stalin's Soviet Union, ideological opposites, agreed to a pact. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, named after their foreign ministers, was a pact of non-aggression. But it was a pact forged in deceit, a pact with a hidden agenda. This pact was not about friendship. It was about buying time. Hitler, hungry for expansion, saw it as a way to secure his eastern border. He wanted Poland, and this pact ensured Stalin wouldn't interfere. Stalin had his own calculations. He too desired territory and believed he could exploit Hitler's ambition. The pact carved up Eastern Europe, with cynical indifference to the fate of nations. Poland, the Baltic states, Finland, all were pawns in this dangerous game. The agreement bought Hitler time, allowing him to conquer Poland without Soviet interference. The uneasy alliance held, a dark cloud over a continent bracing for war. The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact did not bring peace. It brought a tense quiet. Both sides knew it was a marriage of convenience, built on mistrust and ambition. Beneath the facade of cooperation, suspicion simmered. Intelligence agencies on both sides watched each other closely. Neither Hitler nor Stalin truly believed in the pact's longevity. Each prepared for the inevitable betrayal. Hitler's generals started planning for an invasion of the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa, they called it. Stalin, despite his paranoia, seemed to trust Hitler more than his own intelligence. He ignored warnings from his spies about German troop movements. He refused to believe that Hitler would break their agreement. His trust, or perhaps his miscalculation, would have devastating consequences. The early years of World War II saw Hitler's blitzkrieg tactics succeed with terrifying speed. Poland fell quickly. Denmark and Norway succumbed. France, once considered Europe's mightiest military power, crumbled in just 6 weeks. These swift victories fueled Hitler's confidence. They also reinforced his belief in the superiority of the German army. He began to see himself as invincible, a military genius destined to rule Europe. His generals, initially hesitant about the invasion of the Soviet Union, found their doubts silenced by these early successes. The victories, however, masked a crucial weakness in Hitler's strategy, a two-front war. By attacking the Soviet Union, he would be fighting on two fronts, a mistake Napoleon had made a century earlier. As Hitler's armies marched across Europe, tensions grew between Germany and the Soviet Union. The Balkans became a point of contention. Both countries saw the region as strategically important. Hitler, needing to secure his southern flank before invading Russia, intervened in the Balkans. He sent troops to Romania and Bulgaria, much to Stalin's displeasure. These actions were a clear violation of the spirit, if not the letter, of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact. Stalin, alarmed by Hitler's growing influence in the Balkans, sought to strengthen his own position. He occupied the Baltic states and annexed parts of Romania, further straining the fragile alliance. Section 5, Operation Barbarossa, the Betrayal Unleashed. On June 22, 1941, Hitler unleashed Operation Barbarossa, the invasion of the Soviet Union. The attack, launched with characteristic German precision, caught Stalin completely off guard. The Red Army, despite its size, was ill-prepared for the onslaught. Millions of German soldiers, supported by tanks and aircraft, surged across the Soviet border. The initial German advance was swift and brutal. Soviet troops, poorly equipped and led, were forced into chaotic retreats. The invasion, a blatant betrayal of the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact, marked a turning point in the war. Hitler's gamble had begun. He believed he could conquer the Soviet Union in a swift campaign, much like his conquest of France. He underestimated the vastness of the Soviet Union, the harshness of the Russian winter, and the resilience of the Soviet people. Section 6. The Eastern Front erupts, a clash of titans. Operation Barbarossa transformed the conflict into a clash of ideologies. It became a war of extermination, a struggle between Nazi Germany and the Communist Soviet Union. The Eastern Front, stretching from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, became a scene of unimaginable brutality. The Germans, driven by a toxic mix of Nazi ideology and racial hatred, committed unspeakable atrocities. They targeted Jews, Roma, and other minorities, murdering millions in a systematic campaign of genocide. The Red Army, fighting for its survival, responded with its own brand of ruthlessness. The scale of the fighting was unprecedented. Millions of soldiers clashed in a war of attrition that would claim millions of lives. The Eastern Front, the deadliest theater of World War II, became a meat grinder, consuming men and resources at an alarming rate. Section 7. Stalingrad, the tide turns. The Battle of Stalingrad, fought from August 1942 to February 1943, became a turning point in the war. The city, bearing Stalin's name, held symbolic importance for both sides. The Germans, determined to capture it, poured men and resources into the battle. The Soviets, equally determined to defend it, fought with ferocious tenacity. The battle raged for months, transforming the city into a desolate wasteland. Street fighting was brutal and unforgiving, with control of key points changing hands repeatedly. The German Sixth Army, once considered invincible, found itself trapped and surrounded in the ruins of the city. The Soviet victory at Stalingrad marked a turning point in the war. It shattered the myth of German invincibility and sapped German morale. The battle, one of the bloodiest in human history, demonstrated the resilience of the Soviet people and their determination to defeat Nazi Germany. Section 8. From Stalingrad to Berlin, the Price of Betrayal. After Stalingrad, the tide of war turned decisively against Germany. The Red Army, bolstered by Allied aid and a growing sense of confidence, pushed the Germans back across Eastern Europe. The fighting was fierce and unforgiving, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Hitler's gamble had failed. His dream of conquering the Soviet Union lay shattered in the ruins of Stalingrad. The invasion of the Soviet Union, a strategic blunder of colossal proportions, had cost Germany dearly. It had drained the Wehrmacht of men and resources, ultimately leading to Germany's defeat. On May 2, 1945, Soviet troops captured Berlin, the heart of the Nazi regime. Hitler, hiding in his bunker, committed suicide rather than face capture. The war in Europe was over, but the scars of conflict, particularly those inflicted on the Eastern Front, would remain for generations to come. Section 9. Legacies of Tyranny, Hitler and Stalin's World. The war left Europe in ruins. Millions lay dead, victims of Hitler and Stalin's totalitarian regimes. The Holocaust, the systematic murder of 6 million Jews, stood as a chilling testament to the horrors of Nazi ideology. Stalin's reign of terror, responsible for the deaths of millions of his own citizens, cast a long shadow over the Soviet Union. Both Hitler and Stalin, driven by ruthless ambition and a disregard for human life, left a legacy of death and destruction. Their pact, a cynical exercise in realpolitik, ultimately backfired, leading to their mutual destruction. The war, a clash of ideologies as much as a struggle for territory, reshaped the political landscape of Europe, ushering in a new era of Cold War rivalry. Section 10. The Enduring Significance of Betrayal. The story of Hitler and Stalin's pact is a cautionary tale about the perils of political expediency. It reminds us that alliances forged in deceit and mistrust are doomed to fail. It also highlights the dangers of underestimating one's enemies, as Hitler did with Stalin. The betrayal that shattered their alliance had profound consequences, shaping the course of World War II and its aftermath. It led to the horrors of the Eastern Front, the deaths of millions, and the division of Europe. The legacy of this betrayal continues to resonate today, a reminder of the fragility of peace and the enduring power of mistrust. Section 11. What if? The Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact and its subsequent betrayal raise a haunting question. What if Hitler had not betrayed Stalin? What if he had honored the pact and focused his energies on consolidating his gains in Western Europe? Would the war have ended differently? Would the Holocaust have been averted? These questions, while fascinating, are ultimately unanswerable. History, unlike a laboratory experiment, cannot be replayed. However, pondering these counterfactuals reminds us of the contingency of history, the role of chance and miscalculation in shaping the course of events. It also underscores the importance of understanding the past, not just for its own sake, but also for the insights it can provide into the present and the future.